All right, day 2 with Piper. Hi, Piper. Hello. How are you this morning? Oh, hello. You tail wags, all tail wags? Okay, let me get my snacks. Get snacks in our clicker. Oh, I know. Don't worry, we can snuggle for a minute before we get started. Hang on, hang on. We're all ready to go here. Oh, I need to find a harness for you. Okay. Hello. Hello. Here, oh, yeah, you want to play right away today. Yes, you do. Oh. There it is. Get it. Oh, you're silly girl. Oh, silly girl. Okay, right in the potty box. It's so funny. I get a bed down here or something so you can take your toys in your bed instead of your potty box. Ooh, what about this one? Yeah. All right. Piper is much more into it right away today. What is this? What is this? All right. So since it's just our second session, we're gonna start by charging our clicker first. Remember, 1 click equals 1 treat. Man, I can make those so small for you. You're tiny. So ideally, you want to click the clicker and then produce the treat. There should be a little bit of separation between the two. Oh, somebody knows I have food. I think you're more interested in the food than being picked up right now. Okay, so we're going to click the clicker, then reach for and feed the treat when we're charging that clicker. To start with like 3 to 5 repetitions of charging the clicker for the first week at each training session. Oh my goodness, that's a big rope for a little baby. Okay, so we've charged the clicker for a few repetitions. Now let's see if she can follow that food lure like we were doing yesterday. I'm going to show her that I have the food and just have her follow it this time before I click and then treat. And let's see if she can follow it this way. Good job, Piper. You see little chicken? You want your little chicken? Oh, they're so tough. You love these toys. Yes. Okay, now I'm going to pair following the food lure with her name. Do a couple repetitions of that like we did yesterday. Uh-oh, I'm dropping treats. Piper! Piper! So notice how I'm switching my treat hand and my clicker hand. Piper! And we'll do one more of those. Piper! And she's going to be ready for the hand target next. After a little play break. What is that? Oh, oh, oh. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, Piper. All Aren't you so cute? Now that Piper's in such a playful and happy mood, if she tries to climb into my lap now, I'm gonna try to get her out of my lap and get her redirected back onto a toy. Because as you can see right now, she's in play mode. This isn't cuddle mode. So if I were to pick her up right now, she might, or she probably would be more likely to get a little mouthy with me, grabbing my hair, grabbing my sleeves, maybe even grabbing my hand. So when your puppy's in play mode, then I like to set some clear boundaries that it's not a time to climb into my lap and climb up onto me, because then the dog is probably going to start getting mouthy with me. So what she's doing right now, she's just trying to get me to play, but I want her to be off of me, and then I'm going to redirect her back onto a toy. So I'm going to kind of keep her out here. So this is going to set up clear boundaries for Piper right off the bat, that when it's playtime, play happens down here. There's no reason on the ground. There's no reason for her to climb up into my lap or start grabbing or mouthing or biting at my clothing or my hands or even my hair. Like, I've got long hair, so a lot of times puppies will try to experiment with that. Oh, and now she got her harness. So I'm going to make a little trade for that. Harness isn't a toy. It looks like a toy though. And actually, I think we might put her harness on. So this harness is a step-in type harness. So the dog's legs need to go here, and then we're going to Velcro it and clip it over their back. So I found that the easiest way to do this, to get puppies into the step-in type harness without a lot of conflict or mouthing or biting, is to pick the puppy up and to stick their front feet through. So I'm going to ask her to come up. Good girl. So I'm going to use that word up so she knows I'm going to pick her up. Then I'm going to stick her front feet through, just like that, and then set her back down on the ground to Velcro. And then after I do that step, I do like to feed the dog a treat, just so that they're pairing getting dressed with something positive, because it is weird to the puppy that we put stuff on them, clothing on them, harnesses on them. You know, dogs are animals. They're not born knowing what it means to wear a harness or a jacket or a sweater. So right off the bat, I like to, could see how now she's like, oh my goodness, I have something on me. That's weird. But I still want to play with my toys. So I want to pair a lot of positive associations with getting dressed right away, so that the puppy doesn't start to fight me every time that I put their harness on. Because if they don't like it, that's when they might start to get mouthy or bitey when you're getting them dressed. Piper! Get it! Okay, so now we're going to try a hand target. Piper's been pretty good yesterday and today at following that food lure in my hand. So I'm going to start with a couple repetitions of that. But now I'm making my hand a lot more flat. I'm going to do this 4 times where I have the cookie in my hand, and I'm going to click and let Piper eat the cookie out of my flat hand for following. People moving around upstairs, so that's distracting. Good job. Now this time I'm going to try it with no food in my hand. So this is the end result that we want from the hand target, is that we show our dogs a flat palm, they come over, bop their nose on it. Now I still did deliver the treat after I clicked the clicker, because this behavior is still pretty new for Piper. So watch again. I'm going to go back to a food lure now, just because this behavior is so new. I'm going to click when she eats the food out of my hand, but then right away I'm going to try with an empty hand and see if she can target my empty hand. And as soon as I feel her nose, that was kind of a side swipe, I'm going to click the clicker. So we'll try it again with this hand. And I felt her nose, so I clicked, and then I'm going to deliver the treat after the fact. Right, so that's the hand target. It's a nice foundation behavior. Usually our puppies pick up on it fairly quickly, and we can use that behavior later on to teach more complex behaviors too. So that's why I like to get puppies almost sort of obsessed with the hand target and really, really good at it. So for example, you could use the hand target as an informal recall. So instead of using and abusing your recall word, which most people use the word come, you could just ask the dog for a hand target to move them from point A to point B. So then that way you're not using your recall word all the time. That's one of the main things that I'll start to use it for right away. And now she's getting mad at her harness, so I'm going to try to just redirect her. Piper, get it! With one of our get it cookies. Oh, good girl. Get it. Piper, get it. Good girl. Ready? Get it. Nice job. You want to play with this? Oh. You like the chicken today, huh? So I like to get the puppy dressed in their harness, even at this age, and maybe just go through some of their training exercises so that they're doing something else and not constantly thinking about the fact that they're restrained in something, which is the harness. At week 3, we'll start to introduce the leash, because then they're going to be restrained even further when they're attached to you. So I like to introduce that really, really young as well, but usually we do that at week 3. Okay, let's see if she wants to do another. Let's do these hand targets one more time. Oh, I know. So there's one with a food lure, and then we're going to try one without. Good girl. And so eventually I'm going to call that behavior. I'm going to put it on cue. I'm going to call it touch. Okay. Let's see if she wants to do some of the mat. So step 1 in the mat is I'm going to throw it down on the ground. As soon as Piper comes over, I'm going to click that clicker, and I'm going to put a couple of treats on the ground. So we did this one yesterday. The thing that is different today is that we're doing it with her harness on. Okay, I'm going to pick her up, and I'm just going to move the mat a couple of feet. Let's see if she can come over to it. And click. And I'm going to put a few treats down. Oh, that one got real crumbly. Well, I guess you get all of it. Oh, I'm going to point it out to her if she doesn't see it. Got one more, girlfriend. Good job. Okay, so I'm trying to pick up that mat from underneath Piper before she leaves it on her own. I don't want the dog to leave the mat unless I ask them to, and that's going to be in step 2. Okay, one more time, and then we'll give this a break. So usually I'll do things for maybe 3 to 4 repetitions. Good girl. Nice job. There you go. Right there. This mat is Piper sized, which is great. Okay, all done. All done with that. I'm going to sit on it again. Yeah, no. Oh, is it snuggle time? You want that chicken? Come here. So now you can see Piper's much more calm than she was a few minutes ago, and she's coming up, so I'm going to pick her up. Oh, what a good girl. And we're just going to have a little snuggle break. Yes. Good girl. You like to be held and to be pet. It's such a good girl. I think the next thing I'm going to do here is try and get a position out of Piper. So we're going to start with a sit. Good girl. So when I talk about position changes, I'm talking about sits, downs, stand, lay on one side. We don't really do lay on one side with these puppies because they're so young. But usually we get them pretty proficient at their sits and downs before they go home. So I am going to give Piper a different mat just because it might be easier to try the sits initially on a surface that isn't so slippery. So let's see how she does with this. There's like little poles in this carpet, so she's thinking about chewing on those. Look what I have. So for the sit, I'm going to put the cookie in front of her nose. I'm going to keep it close to her face. I'm going to lure her nose up in the air, and hopefully that's going to push her little bummy back into the sit position. And as soon as she goes into the sit, I'm going to click that clicker and I'm going to feed her the cookie. So that's a lured sit. By lured, get it, I mean that I have the food lure in my hand to lure her into that position. So usually when we teach behavior, especially for babies, we're probably always going to have a food lure in our hand. Although with the mat, when we did the first steps in the mat behavior, we weren't really luring the puppy over, we were just kind of encouraging them to come over, and we didn't produce the food until after we clicked. So that's actually called shaping. Just gonna let her sniff the carpet for a minute because it's new and very interesting to her, and then we'll see if we can get maybe another sit out of her, some cookie in front of her nose, and lift it up. And when she puts her little bummy on the ground, I'm gonna click and feed her. Now sometimes puppies can be a little bit bouncy when they're following the food, especially puppies that are a little bit older. Piper's still pretty babyish, but what they'll do is they'll put their bum down into the sit, but then their front legs leave the ground because they're trying to get that piece of food that's in your hand. In which case, to kind of problem solve that, just wait to feed them. Wait until their feet hit the ground, their front feet go back down, then click and feed them, and that will help to eliminate that front feet leaving the ground behavior. Get it! Oh, Piper, you running out of steam? Where are we at? Oh wow, we're already at 18 minutes. Time flies. Yeah. Get it. So we found that puppies of this age really work well for about 20 minutes before they kind of crash. And when I say work, I mean we weren't obviously doing training stuff the entire time. There was a lot of play in between. So really, we just kind of spend a few minutes on each behavior, break that up with some play, and then try another repetition of whatever it was, or something new. Let's see if we can get one more sit out of Piper. She's not terribly interested in the food anymore, which is when she's probably getting full. Because we're right about at our 20-minute mark. Oh, shake. And you know what too? Actually, I'm going to take her harness off now. Maybe that'll make her feel a little less restrained. Okay. Good girl. Okay, so we're gonna hold off on any more sits because she's kind of losing some steam. And what I do want to show you real quick before we wrap up is just the next step in the handling. and that is specifically handling different body parts. So I have a few pieces of cookie ready. And what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to touch her ears, each leg or foot, her tail, and even try to open her mouth, just so that she's getting used to having different parts of her body being handled, and we're pairing them with a positive association, which is the click and the treat. So I'll usually start by just kind of petting the puppy, and then I'm going to move to one of those body parts. So lifting an ear right here, and I'm going to click while my hand is holding her ear, and then I'm going to deliver that piece of food. I'm going to wait for her to finish eating that piece, and then I'm going to move on to the other ear. So her left ear over here, click while it's in my hand, and then I'm going to deliver the cookie. If it doesn't crumble, she doesn't care, she's still eating it. Good girl. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to her feet / legs. I'm going to start somewhere neutral, petting her up here, but then I'm going to come down to one of her feet and pick it up, click while it's in my hand, and then deliver the food. And I'm going to repeat that with all 4 legs. So that's her other back foot in my hand, click and deliver the treat. Now it's time for a front leg. Piper is so much more tired than when we first got down here. And finally that last front leg. And I'm going to do the same with her tail, just kind of lift it up, click and feed her. And the very last thing I'm going to do is try to just look in her mouth. I'm going to see if I can turn her little blanket just so you can see what I'm doing. Oh, where are we going? Going for a ride. Here, I'll move myself over here. Maybe you can see her better. She wants to bite the blanket that I'm sitting on. All right, so I'm just going to lift her lip, and I'm going to click when I do that, okay? So right there, and click and feed. So hopefully you saw that. I think that's all I'm going to do today. I could open her mouth completely, click and feed, but she's kind of, I think she's done. She's going to go upstairs and take a nap. Yes. Are you full? Is that belly full? Yes, it is. Right, so she'll have her next 2 sessions this week with Jay, and then I'll be back next week.